Miss Bryn, will you help me find the music? I can't see it, but I know it's there." The small voice came from the doorway of the grand music room, where 4-year-old Harper stood clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Her eyes, clouded by the condition that had stolen her sight at birth, didn't focus on anything, yet somehow found everything. Bryn Caldwell set down the dustcloth, her heart catching. It was only her second day working in the Whitmore estate, hired to clean and maintain the vast, lonely house. At 24, she'd taken the job out of desperation after her mother's medical bills consumed everything. But she hadn't expected this, a child who moved through darkness with such quiet bravery. "The music?" Bryn asked, softly, kneeling to Harper's level. "Mama used to play the piano for me before she went to heaven. Daddy says I shouldn't touch it anymore, but sometimes I hear it in my dreams." Bryn's throat tightened. The grand piano sat silent in the corner, sheet music still open as if waiting for hands that would never return. "What if we played together? Just a little. Your mama would want the music to keep living." Harper's face lit up, tentative hope blooming. You won't tell Daddy?" "It'll be our secret," Bryn promised, though guilt already whispered warnings. She lifted Harper onto the bench, guiding small fingers to the keys. "Feel this? These are the low notes. They sound like thunder rolling far away." She pressed one gently. The note resonated through the room, rich and deep. Harper giggled, pressing another key, then another. "They're talking to each other." "Exactly." Bryn's hands moved beside Harper's, showing her simple melodies. Music is just feelings that don't have words yet. For 20 minutes they played, clumsy, beautiful, alive. Harper's laughter filled spaces that had been silent too long. And Bryn felt something shift inside her chest. This wasn't just a job anymore. What neither of them knew was that behind the slightly open door, Harper's father stood frozen. Ethan Whitmore was 33 and had built a tech empire on logic, precision, and control. But control had shattered the night his wife died 2 years ago, leaving him with a daughter he didn't know how to reach. He worked 18-hour days to avoid the silence at home, hiring staff to manage what he couldn't bear to face. He'd come home early to grab files, heard the piano, and expected anger to rise. That piano was sacred, his wife's, untouchable. But hearing his daughter's laughter, a sound he'd almost forgotten, stopped him cold. He watched through the gap as the new maid, Bryn, he remembered from the hiring paperwork, guided Harper's hands with such tenderness. Not pity, not duty, pure, unguarded kindness. When Harper said, "Miss Bryn, do you think Mama can hear us?" And Bryn answered, "I think she hears every note, sweetheart, and she's smiling." Ethan's carefully constructed walls began to crack. He slipped away before they could notice, his mind racing. That evening, Ethan called Bryn to his study. She stood in the doorway, nervous, certain she was about to be fired. "Mr. Whitmore, I apologize for—" "Don't." His voice was rough. "I heard you today, with Harper." Bryn's face paled. "I shouldn't have touched the piano. I know it was your wife's. I just—" Harper seemed so alive, Ethan finished quietly. She seemed alive. For the first time in 2 years. He looked at Bryn, really looked, past the maid's uniform to the young woman who'd given his daughter something he couldn't give. "I need to ask you something. Would you consider spending time with Harper? Not as staff, but as, I don't know what to call it, a companion, a friend." Bryn hesitated. "Sir, I was hired to clean—" "I'll triple your salary." Then he shook his head. "No, I'm not trying to buy this. I'm asking if you'd be willing to help my daughter find joy again. She trusts you. I can't remember the last time she trusted anyone." The vulnerability in his voice surprised them both. "Why can't you do it?" Bryn asked gently. "Play with her, I mean. She needs her father." Ethan's face tightened with old pain. "Because every time I try, I see my wife, and Harper feels my grief even if she can't see it. She's been living in my shadow for too long." Bryn understood broken families. She understood absence dressed as protection. "I'll do it," she said quietly, "but not for triple salary. I'll do it because Harper deserves to be a child, not a ghost in her own home. And maybe you both need to remember how to live in the same space again." Over the following months, something extraordinary unfolded. Bryn came every afternoon, and she and Harper would explore the piano together, playing, laughing, creating. Harper began composing her own simple melodies, describing colors she'd never seen through sound. She'd say, "This one is yellow, like sunshine feels on my face," playing bright, quick notes. Ethan started coming home earlier, drawn by the music. He'd stand outside the room, listening, slowly learning his daughter through the lens of Bryn's patience. Sometimes Bryn would catch him there and invite him with a gentle nod. At first, he'd refuse. Then one October evening, he sat down. "Harper," Bryn said softly, "your daddy's here. Should we show him what we've been working on?" Harper reached out, finding her father's hand. "Daddy, will you play with us?" Ethan's hands shook as they touched the keys his wife once played. But with Harper on one side and Bryn guiding on the other, he pressed down. The note was hesitant, fragile. "That's perfect, Daddy," Harper whispered, "and Mama would love it." And Ethan broke. Tears he'd held for 2 years finally fell. And Harper reached up, touching his face, reading his grief through her fingertips. "It's okay to be sad. Miss Bryn says all feelings are just music waiting to be played." Bryn quietly slipped out, giving them space. But Ethan called her back. "Stay," he said hoarsely. "Please. You gave this to us. You should be here." So she stayed, and they played together, imperfect, honest, healing. By winter, the house felt different. Harper blossomed, performing little concerts for the staff. Ethan began working from home more, building a relationship with his daughter that was no longer haunted by absence. And Bryn had found something she didn't know she'd been searching for. Purpose beyond survival, connection beyond transaction. One snowy December evening, after Harper fell asleep, Ethan found Bryn by the piano. "I never thanked you properly," he said quietly. "You didn't just help Harper. You brought us both back to life." Bryn shook her head. "You both did that yourselves. I just reminded you the music was still there." "Why did you do it, that first day? You could have ignored her." Bryn's eyes filled with old pain. "Because when I was 7, my father left. And my mother was so broken, she couldn't see me anymore, even though I was right there. I know what it's like to be invisible in your own home. I couldn't let Harper feel that way." Ethan stepped closer. "You're not invisible, Bryn. Not to Harper, not to me." The air between them shifted, heavy with unspoken feeling. But Bryn smiled gently, stepping back. "Harper needs you to stay her father. Don't complicate that. What we have, this connection, this trust, it's enough." Ethan nodded slowly, respecting her wisdom. "Then let me say this. You'll always have a place here. Not as staff, but as family, if you'll accept that." "I already have," she whispered. Spring came, soft and new. Harper, now 5, played a full melody she'd composed herself, her father beside her adding harmonies. Bryn watched from the doorway, heart full. Harper turned toward her, somehow knowing she was there. "Miss Bryn, thank you for helping me find the music." Bryn crossed the room, kneeling beside them both. "You taught me something too, sweetheart, that the most beautiful music isn't played with our eyes, it's played with our hearts. And when we let people in, even in the dark, we're never truly blind." Ethan's hand found Bryn's, a gentle squeeze of gratitude. Not romance, something deeper. Recognition, respect. Family chosen rather than given. Harper reached for both their hands, pulling them close. "We're all playing the same song now, together." And in that moment, they were. Three people who'd found each other in loneliness and created a symphony of kindness, acceptance, and unbreakable connection. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, subscribe,